At the start of the Clone Wars, the Republic faced vulture droids, and lots of them. The GAR had no starfighters in real numbers and time was running out. So they built one, quickly. The V-19 Torrent. It helped win battles and it bought the Republic precious time, so why was it being lined up for replacement almost the moment it arrived? The Republic had spent years in secret preparing for the inevitable. Yet, when the war finally broke out, it still caught them off guard. Inexperienced Jedi were suddenly thrust into roles of battlefield commanders and logistical shortcomings surfaced immediately. Much of it came down to timing. First Battle of Geonosis likely began earlier than the Republic and the Confederacy had anticipated. The GAR have won the fight, but at a brutal cost for the clones. In the months that followed, another price kept being paid by the LATs as they were deployed continuously into hostile airspace, often with minimal cover. The cause was simple. The Republic had almost no dedicated starfighter support to protect them at a time, and the vulture droids were ruthless. The Starfighter Corps was still in the early stages of producing their first frontline starfighter, the V-19 Torrent, spearheaded by Slane and Corporal Corporation. The program was rushed, pressured, and forced to scale far faster than intended. Production ramped up quickly, and by the Battle of Munilist, barely a month after Geonosis, the Torrent finally appeared in meaningful numbers. From then on, the V-19s became more of a common sight, and LAT casualties slowly dropped. But it came with a trade-off. The V-19 was not the fighter the Corps truly wanted, but it was the fighter they needed. A stopgap machine pushed into the service until more refined starfighters could take over. The V-19 Torrent was designed as a short-range starfighter and interceptor, built with one purpose in mind: air superiority. It measured 6 meters long, 9 meters tall, and spread a wide 26-meter wingspan when its foils were deployed. Despite its size, the Torrent could push up to 1,200 km per hour in atmosphere, fast enough to close distance, pursue targets, or quickly disengage. That performance came from two ion engines mounted on the port and starboard sides, backed by a third thruster integrated into the aft vertical stabilizer. Combined with a repulsor lift system and its signature strike foils, the V-19 was extremely maneuverable, even under high-speed stress. Strike foils, or S-foils, are a piece of engineering seen across many starship designs. They function as movable wings that unlock weapon systems, stabilize the craft, and enhance maneuverability. The V-19 was just one of many military aircraft to rely on this concept for landing, takeoff, and also handling. The initial V-19 models lacked an onboard hyperdrive, which meant they were dependent on external hyperdrive rings for any long-distance travel. Once docked, the ring allowed the fighter to enter hyperspace. Later production runs abandoned this system entirely in favor of an integrated hyperdrive, fixing some of the fighter's biggest operational drawbacks. And for a rush starfighter, its weapons were straightforward but effective. Two laser cannons mounted on the wingtips, which were the primary anti-starfighter weapons. And built into the hull, you've got two concussion missile launchers beneath the fuselage, each carrying roughly 6 missiles. These missiles could lock onto targets at range, forcing enemies to rely on countermeasures or evasive maneuvers. The Torrent did not feature any shield generator or any countermeasures of its own, and as such, it relied extensively on its reinforced hull to tank any possible hits. And with the room for one pilot in a cabin with life support, short-range sensors, and basic avionics, each V-19 Torrent cost the Republic around 75,000 credits. Relatively cheap for a frontline starfighter, and part of why it could be mass-produced so quickly. While the V-19 carried several clever design choices, it also came with a list of limitations, many of them a direct result of its rushed development. The earlier models lacked an onboard hyperdrive, forcing them to rely on external rings for long-range travel. This slowed down redeployment times and demanded extra storage aboard capital ships like the Venator-class Star Destroyer. Its offensive armament was respectable for its era, but its defensive capabilities were almost non-existent. With no shield generator and no countermeasure systems, the Torrent relied heavily on a reinforced hull. In practice, that was not enough. Even a single well-placed hit could tear the fighter apart, and the frontline footage often shows V-19s destroyed in one clean shot, let alone a full spray. The fighter also lacked any form of point defense turret, leaving it highly vulnerable when pursued by more agile or more durable opponents. And without an astromech droid to automate repairs, navigation or system management, a V-19 pilot had to manually handle everything, from diagnostics to targeting. And under intense combat pressure, that gets trickier. The two ion engines, while removing the need for heavy maintenance, came with a drawback. The exhaust of these engines made it much easier to be detected on sensors. Now, these weaknesses did not make the Torrent an unusable fighter, but they did make it a pretty bad one. The reminder that the Republic needed something more advanced and fast. And so, the spotlight vanished almost as quickly as it appeared. The V-19 remained in service throughout much of the Clone Wars. It also saw limited use under the early Empire, various planetary defense forces, and scattered rebel cells. But its presence on the front lines declined month after month, steadily overtaken by newer, more capable fighters like the V-Wing or the ARC-170. Once those designs entered full production, the mass manufacturing of the V-19 came to an end. And from that point forward, Torrents were gradually reassigned to low-risk patrol routes, border outposts, and outer-rim security duties, far from the major battles. And without fresh replacements rolling off assembly lines, every destroyed V-19 became a permanent loss. Fighter pushed on the front line out of desperation quickly disappeared once that very desperation was finally over. In the early days of the Torrent's deployment, clone pilots struggled to adapt to its systems. This became yet another factor delaying the fighter's widespread appearance on the battlefield. These pilots were fully trained for their roles, but the V-19 introduced controls, behaviors, and handling characteristics they haven't dealt with before. Part of this came from the fact that the Starfighter was not built by a company such as Rotana Heavy Engineering, which were responsible for most early GAR vehicles, but by Slane and Corporal, corporation with little prior experience in designing fighter craft specifically for the Republic. New manufacturers meant new design philosophies, even if mostly adapted for one direction. And for pilots used to flying the LAAT, suddenly transitioning to a new unfamiliar machine proved a little bit challenging at the time. So, retraining took time the Republic did not have. And it contributed to the slow, staggered rollout of the V-19 during those chaotic first months of the war.
Commander, we just lost Blue Squadron. A rogue...
Now, when it comes to real-life inspirations for the V-19, we have a solid lead. The Vought F4U Corsair. Introduced in 1942 as a carrier-based fighter bomber, the Corsair served throughout most of the Second World War and continued its career into the Korean War. 12,571 Corsairs were produced by Chance Vought, and the aircraft became a staple of the United States Navy, Marine Corps, and several Allied air forces. Its inverted gull-wing design, rugged frame, and naval deployment made it a great inspiration for the V-19 Torrent. Unfortunately, this fighter was flawed from the production line. While it helped win battles, many men were lost because of its limitations. As such, better replacements were instantly being developed. Ultimately, it achieved its mission, and that mission was to buy time.